All right, I'll call the meeting to order as of 1:30 p.m. on March 16th. Welcome everybody to the Transportation Advisory Committee meeting. I'm Ben Schmidt. I'm filling in today, so thanks for your patience as we work through this. Moving on to item 2, agenda approval. Do I have a motion? That makes sense. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, this is Gail Sturdivant. I have a motion to approve the agenda as published.
I think it dies for lack of a second.
This is Lan. I second.
Oh, otherwise, well, we could do it without an agenda.
Sorry, all those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say no. Hearing none, motion passes unanimously. And I apologize for skipping ahead for introductions online. If we can we go back and go ahead and go through introductions?
Sure, I'll be happy to, and then we can go through those in the room if that works. Alrighty, so we'll just go ahead and go through. We're trying to keep this in somewhat order. Becky Frank.
Good afternoon, everybody. Becky Frank with the town of Green Mountain Falls.
All right, Ben Sheets.
Sorry about that. Ben Sheets, City of Fountain.
Thank you, Ben. Allison Burns. Not unmuting. Let's go ahead and keep going. Aaron Busto.
Hi, this is Aaron Busto with Federal Highways.
Sorry about that, Aaron, for your last name. Darren Horstmeyer. We'll keep going. Jeff Guthrie.
Thank you, Jeff Guthrie, CDOT Region 2 Planning here in Pueblo.
Kathleen Collins.
Statewide and regional planning of CDOT, Kathleen Collins.
Thank you, Kathleen. Kristen Kenyon.
Good afternoon. Kristen's here. Hello. From Federal Transit.
Thank you. Lachelle Davis.
Hi, Lachelle Davis, CDOT local agency.
Thank you. Matt Pettit.
Matt Pettit, local agency.
Phil Von Hake.
Hi, Phil Von Hake, CDOT multimodal planning.
Tim Roberts.
Yes, Tim Roberts, City of Colorado Springs Traffic Engineering.
Gail Sturdivant.
Yeah, Gail Sturdivant, City Engineer, Deputy Public Works Director for the City of Colorado Springs. And I want to thank Ben for stepping in since I was traveling today and wanted to make sure that it was uninterrupted.
Thank you, Gail. And then Victoria Chavez.
Hi, Victoria, El Paso County.
And then circling back to our staff, Jason O'Brien.
Jason O'Brien, PPACG, Senior Transportation Planner.
And Laura Cruz, you jumped right in. We're just doing introductions.
Laura Cruz, Mobility Coordinator.
All right, that's everyone online.
Rob Price, CDOT Planning Environmental.
John Hall, CDOT Region 2 North Program Engineer now. For those of you who knew, Shane Ferguson was the North Program Engineer in North having Park Fremont, Custer, Teller, and El Paso County. And he got promoted to Region Transportation Director, and I am now the Program Engineer for Region 2 North.
Lan Rao, City of Colorado Springs Mountain Metro Transit.
Sheila Booth, Town of Monument Planning Director.
John Leosatos, PPACG, and John, congratulations and welcome.
Danelle Miller, Transportation Planner here at PPACG.
And Jess Bechtel, Transportation Planner at PPACG.
All right, so moving on to agenda item 3, public comments and presentations. Do we have any signed up?
We haven't had anybody sign up or indicate any kind of public comment request.
I could do my Patton Oswald imitation from The Office, where he does the filibuster. No, never mind. We have no.
All right, moving on to agenda item number 4, approval of the minutes. May I get a motion for approval?
Mr. Chair, this is Gail Sturdivant. I approve the minutes as published, or recommend approval of minutes as published. Sorry, it's been a long day.
Victoria, I'll second.
Sorry, we need to update the minutes to reflect that Darren was at the meeting last month prior to voting on those. Please.
Mr. Chair, this is Gail Sturdivant. I amend my motion to approve the minutes published with one addition, showing that Darren was present at the meeting.
I'll concur. Victoria?
All right, all those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. Hearing none, the motion is approved unanimously. All right, moving on to agenda item number 5, Board of Directors report.
Right. The Board of Directors, we didn't have a lot of items transportation related on the agenda this month. We did have the pavement condition and system performance target setting, which were approved by the board, and that resolution has been sent up to CDOT. We did also have TIP amendment number 6. That was the redistribution of the MMOF funding. That was also approved by the board and sent up to CDOT, and staff will be sending out award letters for that funding. And the only other thing that was really relevant to transportation was Laura Cruz, our mobility coordinator, did an informational item on our National Aging and Disability Transportation Center needs study update. Anything else that we need to talk about?
I don't think so, unless anybody else that was at the meeting wants to bring anything up. There was a robust discussion during the legislative update about an amendment to Bill 111 or whatever, that was just to extend the greenhouse gas transit funding. And again, wasn't adding more money, it was just allowing more flexibility with the money was already there. But they tacked on an amendment that had to do with the a review of the transportation why am I at a loss for words? But basically the
TPRs.
Thank
Yes.
you. That to switch up the TPRs, and then is it appropriate to say all heck broke loose? Yes, I think I can say heck.
A bit.
So that is still, and I guess that bill's now going to conference committee, but that's the other one that sort of took a lot of time at the meeting. But anybody else have anything they remember of substance? We'll take the awkward silence. Oh, go ahead, Len.
I listened into the transportation after the PPACG meeting, the workshop, and I found it very helpful and informative. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, we did a transportation 101 and actually it was transportation 100.5 because we didn't quite finish. So we're going to do the rest of it at the end of the next board meeting. So we are recording that. So if you have a new employee that shows up, or if you're headed out the door and you want the next person to have some semblance of what's going on, feel free to point them to the transportation 101 recording that we should have soon. So, but thank you. I'm glad you found it informative.
All right, thank you. Moving on to agenda item number 6, action items, item A, annual TIP policies and procedures review. Pass it on to Danelle.
Yes, thank you. So we are preparing to begin the FY 25-29 TIP process, as well as an amendment to bring the last year of the current TIP forward into into the active years of the TIP. And before we do the FY 25-29 TIP, we wanted to bring the policies and procedures document to the TAC to make sure that everybody has read through it, that there's no questions or changes that have been identified that really need to go through the committee process before we really dig into some of that new TIP document. At this point, really what we're looking for is any guidance from the TAC on any policies or procedures that are problematic now, or if there's any work that you would like staff to do to go in and make changes or recommendations, anything like that. Does anybody have any thoughts on the TIP document?
Sorry, it looks like Gail's got her hand raised online.
Hi, thanks, Danelle. I appreciate your overview. I guess I just had a couple questions, maybe to be able to better respond to the question you just asked us. Are there any proposed changes from either the CDOT, TPR, or Federal Highways or Federal Transit Authority that we may need to consider for our procedures?
Let's see. I think we need to probably add a language for the new funding, the carbon reduction fund, because that is new since we put forward, we generated this document about 4 years ago. And then the only other thing was we might need to go back and see if there's some greenhouse gas language that needs to be added. But quite frankly, we shouldn't have to, because the greenhouse gas should only hit when we're doing the long range plan. There is no provision that says that we need to do any different modeling or anything else during the TIP. And since this is a TIP document, that being said, there might be a case where if we have an adopted long range plan and we make it and we go out of compliance and then we want to do a TIP amendment, there is language there that kicks in. So we might need to add something there on the off chance it applies. But other than that, that's all I could think of that we would need to change. I think from our perspective, we really want to make sure that everything's running the way you want it to. When we first introduced this, you guys had lots of changes and we made those. And now the next year there's less changes and the next year there's less changes. So hopefully we're honing in on making all the corrections that you all want, because ultimately we are the facilitator of your process. Go ahead, Gail. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Oh, no problem. That you actually answered my second question, because I was looking on page 15 of the procedures where we talk about when it goes in the TIP and having to go back and looking at the modeling for air quality in conformance with Title VI and environmental justice, and was wondering about the greenhouse gas anyway there as well. The other question, and I don't know if this is an issue or not, but on page 4 of the document, it talks about CDOT transitioning to a 10-year STIP cycle in the future. And is there anything we need to do or plan for, or would it really have no effect on what we're doing now?
I think from my understanding, what we really just need to do is update that language in here that's out of date, that refers to the 2019, 2022 TIP and PPACG being out of sync with the STIP. Otherwise, I don't think there's any significant language or issues that need to be called out here.
Yeah, I think also a language update, because at that time we were just calling it like a 10-year whatever 10-year program, but I think that we've now sort of said that that is the CDOT 10-year plan, right? So we'll probably need to update the language and smooth that out some. So that will be another point where we'll need to make a few corrections.
Okay, and then I would assume there's just minor things like, there's some cross out and some red text that would be cleaned up. I would point out on page 3, there, the word can is struck, but may was not added back in there. But I just assume that those little things will get cleaned up as well.
Yes. Yep. I noticed a few of those as well. There's a couple of typo type, like missing spaces and things like
Right.
that as well. Just, yep.
Yeah, that's all I had. Thank you.
This is Lan. I have a question. So because I'm new to this process, this is the policy of the TIP. Kathleen is also leading the effort of the MOA, Memorandum of Agreement. So is that document basically to memorialize what we agree in this policy following up with the policy, or what is the relationship of the MOA to this policy?
That's a good question. Oh, go ahead. Did I talk over someone? I'm sorry. Nope. So, and Kathleen Collins, feel free to jump in. So the memorandum of understanding between CDOT, PPACG, and Mount Metro is at a higher level that sort of says we're going to work together, but it doesn't go into any sort of details on how that goes. And I know that there's some transit performance measures and things like that, right? So that sort of is something on a 50,000 foot level, but it doesn't go into a lot of detail. This document is not referenced in that other document, and in reality, they're not really tied together. So the policies and procedures were sort of our response to, it says we're going to do things, but it doesn't say what. So we developed this document. So this provides more detail and is more of an understanding of all of the member agencies within PPACG on how we're going to do business, because I think there was a history of folks kind of getting a little frustrated that the rules seemed to change. So we put the rules down so that staff couldn't change the rules on you. So that, I think that's it. So the short answer is they are not connected, but I think they're within the spirit of the overall agreement. This is within the spirit of that and sets out sort of how we're going to do our day-to-day operations. And it is an agreement amongst the jurisdictions that are participating in the process, because again, we wanted to get away from the top-down. PPACG is going to say this is the way it is. Rather, we've taken that different approach where we're more of a facilitator of your process, because it is your money after all. And this puts forth the ground rules of how that process moves forward.
And John, if I can jump in, Kathleen's unmuted if she wanted to jump in.
I would say you described it perfectly, John. You know, the MOA is an agreement that's much broader level than the details outlined here with Pikes Peak and its jurisdictions in terms of creating the TIP. And we'll also be looking at this document again, and I'll also coordinate with Jamie Collins, no relation, but she's the STIP manager at CDOT, and she'll be able to point to things that I can say, this looks good, or is this good with you? And she has decades of experience with the TIP. So we'll make sure we have a look at it as well.
Did you have anything else, Len?
No, that's very helpful. Thank you.
And then actually, since Kathleen Collins did mention Jamie Collins, no relation from what I understand, although I did hear something about distant cousins, but that's okay. CDOT is going through a process by which they have a naming convention. And so I don't know, at the end of the day, we'll need to grab some of that naming convention language and include it in this document. Is that fair, Danelle, or?
I think that would probably be a good idea.
All right.
I don't know that it will get into the TIP policies and procedures review for this year because I don't think CDOT is quite that finalized yet. But yes, at some point, once CDOT's naming convention is solid, it would be beneficial to us to adhere to either that same naming convention or something very similar.
Right. And then we did have a conversation, and sorry, it seems like just we're having an internal conversation. We're really not. This does pertain to you guys, I promise. But we did have a conversation maybe 6 months ago with some of the engineers at some of our jurisdictions about the naming, and we're going to make sure that it's consistent with that conversation.
Yes.
Okay, because I didn't want someone at El Paso County, for example, thinking that we're doing one thing and then saying, well, CDOT's doing something different. So we're okay.
Yes.
Good. I'm good. I'll stop talking now.
John, thank you for that. It's Victoria. And if maybe in the meantime, I know at some point, I don't know if I sent it to you all, but at some point Wendy had sent me a really handy acronym of the funding sources. So maybe just stick it on there as an attachment just for clarity. And then
We
you don't have to
certainly can do
worry.
that.
Do you have it, Danelle?
We do. I don't know if we have the same one that you got, but we do have one.
Yeah, I would go ahead and just stick that as an appendix or, info at the end, just to help everyone. Then you don't have to worry about updating your STPs and all of that within the document. And then final comment, I would recommend that we consider not addressing the greenhouse gas stuff in the TIP policies until we need to do so. So 2 cents. Thank you.
We can do both things. We can do both of those. One thing we'll add because it's simple, and the other one is you're asking us not to do something. And I've been working my whole life not to do things. So you're in my wheelhouse.
It's just for you, John, all for you.
Does anyone else have any comments or concerns at this point? If not, you're welcome to email any questions you might have as you work through the document to Jess and I, and we will come up with a list of recommended changes, make them to the document, and bring it back next month.
All right, thank you. Moving on to action item B, fiscal year 24-25 UPWP development.
Yes. So in addition, we are also developing our new unified planning work program. That acronym always gets me. So we will need to start working on the 24-25 UPWP for adoption this year. As part of that, we have a section toward the end of the document that lists the plans that our jurisdictions are anticipated to undertake this year or in those fiscal years. So what we're asking for from the jurisdictions is to send us a list of your plans or studies that you'll be undertaking in fiscal year 24 and 25, along with the fiscal year, the cost of that, and the purpose. And we did include on pages, looks like 24 and 25 of the packet. These are the pages from our existing UPWP where you can kind of see, the city of Colorado Springs is doing a Midland corridor study. So you can kind of see what we've done in the past. If you guys could send us that same information for the next 2 fiscal years, that would be great. And we will get that integrated so that we can get the UPWP rolling and to the committee process.
Can I add something? Well, let me make sure there's no questions on that before.
I have a question. Sorry.
Go ahead, please, Len.
These are federal fiscal years, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So then I'll add, and Will, you're away from a mic, so just nod heavily or run up. But we had set aside, is it 25,000 for data acquisition or something like that? Is it 30? So we had set aside money for data acquisition, and like 4 years ago, we worked with the city of Colorado Springs and we did pavement condition, right? They were already doing something and we sort of globbed on with them. And I think we did that for 2 years, and then there was sort of a year, I think it's COVID. Did anyone hear about this COVID thing? But that sort of put a damper on stuff and we didn't do anything then. And then coming out of that, I think just last year we used that 30,000 for the bridge contract for a streetlight. That being said, that was the last UPWP. So this current upcoming UPWP will have that fund. So we'll want to get some input from you guys on how you want that. Did we ever finalize with the city of Colorado Springs when they're doing was that 2 meetings ago where they? And now, ladies and gentlemen, William Mast.
Yes, we had used the $30,000 set aside for data acquisition last year to extend the streetlight contract. And the year before that, we partnered with Colorado Springs and El Paso County to initiate the streetlight contract.
That's
so
right.
those are the previous 2 years.
That's right.
And then before that, yes, we partnered with Colorado Springs on the pavement condition inspection that they had running. And we used our $30,000 to support Manitou Springs and the city of Fountain to be able to piggyback on that contract and get pavement condition inspection done for those 2 jurisdictions. So Colorado Springs is back this year to do another PCI pavement condition inspection for all of their roadways, and they're once again going to solicit, put out an RFP, and we've been invited to see if anybody again wants to piggyback on that. We brought that up, I believe, 2 meetings ago. El Paso County, unfortunately, their timing doesn't work out with it, so they weren't able to participate this go round, but Woodland Park was interested. And so we would have some money set aside that we can help Woodland Park piggyback on that contract once they go down the road of selecting a preferred vendor and putting the schedule together. The goal is to have the PCI, the actual inspection, done probably late summer or fall of this year.
Okay. And will that eat up the full 30,000, or do we have room for somebody else to jump?
We don't know yet, since we haven't gone down the path of getting the responses back to get an idea of what it would cost per lane mile. I have calculated and sent to Woodland Park what roadways are eligible, since not all of them are. They would have to be those that are only eligible for federal funding. And then calculated those lane miles. So once we have a preferred consultant or vendor selected, we would have a better idea of the cost. It is not likely that they would use the full 30,000. That is not expected.
Okay. So the bottom line here is that we've got funding, and as long as it's grabbing the data and the data is available for us for planning purposes and made available, we have some flexibility there, because I know there's HPMS and other sorts of reporting that needs to be done. So as long as there's that federal nexus and planning nexus, we're available. So as we're developing the UPWP, if anybody has anything, please reach out to Will to make sure that we're programming the funds appropriately. Anything else program-wise? Thanks, Will. Anything else program-wise? I know we're going to try to set aside 50,000 for safety, as we've done in the past.
I don't think there's anything else significant that we've talked about.
Okay.
But again, if you review the existing UPWP and you have questions or concerns or comments, please email us and let us know so that we can work that into the development of the new UPWP.
Right. And I think in this coming year, we'll have the active transportation plan is going to kick off, as well as a land use for the model is going to kick off. I think that's it, right? And then Jason's already kicked off the freight, and he's going to talk about that shortly. Okay.
And isn't the transit study is also going to be kicked off too? Hi, sorry, this is Kristen.
Yeah.
Okay,
Well,
great.
We think so, right, Lan?
Well, poor Lan has like 15 jobs at the same time. But Danelle, just one quick comment. It's my understanding you're going to be preparing a mid-year progress report.
Yes.
Were you anticipating sending that to everybody as well? Just, it may be helpful for folks to read that as they're
We certainly can.
pulling together their thoughts for the next cycle.
Yes, absolutely. So we do an end of year and a mid-year review of the UPWP every year. Our mid-year review, we actually have a meeting as well with CDOT, FHWA, and FTA. That is scheduled, I believe, for the 20th of April. So we will do our mid-year review document draft. We'll send it out about 2 weeks before that.
And back to your original question, I think Lan is ready to go and she's got the procurement process all loaded up. We're just waiting to find out what happened to the Phantom 100,000. Once that gets put in the right place, I think they're ready to roll.
That's correct.
And Kathleen Collins is working very hard to find the money and make sure it's back in the right place.
As far as the UPWP, is there any additional guidance or any information that staff can provide to the TAC today to help develop that project list or not project list, but planning and study list?
All right. All right, hearing nothing. I'll just try to count to 7, right? That's the rule. All right, hearing nothing, we'll move on to agenda item number 7, information items. Start with item A, CDOT updates.
Hi, this
Yeah,
is
I'll-
Kathleen Collins, and the updates from CDOT HQ at least are pretty minimal this month. We are in the process of hiring interns, and we'll give you their names next time we meet once they're on board. Other than that, not a whole lot new from HQ. Thanks.
So Kathleen, you don't name interns, right? You don't want to get used to them. They're not going to be there that long. They're just, hey, you and that guy. Don't name them. Then you get attached.
Oh, well, we sometimes have to just to be polite.
Yeah, I can relate because I raised sheep growing up. I named the first sheep. Everyone was named after their ear tag. So yeah, I agree. Anyhow, from the region perspective, not too much to report other than what John reported already, that he's the new North Program Engineer. And then we're still working on getting a planning manager on board. That position closed, I think, Sunday, and I just got a kind of a short list late this week today. So start working through that. So maybe interviews in the next week or 2, and then still working on kind of that mid-level planner. We may have to take another look at that, and it may be more of a 1, 2, 3 level kind of a shotgun approach to find somebody to bring in and work through that process. So, John, did you have anything to add?
All right, moving on to item B, IIJA updates and other funding opportunities.
Okay, couple of new notice of funding availability to mention. The Charging and Fueling Infrastructure Grant Program is open. Those applications are due May 30th. There's a community program that cities and towns are eligible for if you're interested in that kind of funding. The minimum awards for that start at $500,000. So it's probably more than just a couple of charging stations. Also, the Safe Streets and Roads for All grant is expected to open in April for this fiscal year. And then a couple of other notices of funding opportunity that are expected to open later this spring. The Multimodal Project Discretionary Grant, that's the one that includes mega, rural, and infra. So that's a big one. There's also the pilot program for transit-oriented development that's set to open this spring. And also the a bridge investment program that is probably going to be more towards summer. But that is on the list for opening soon. And those dates and deadlines are all available on a tracker that the US DOT publishes, but it's also been updated on our PPACG website as well.
May I ask a question about the infrastructure and charging grant? Does that include electrification? Perfect.
Yes.
Thank you.
And I can send out some information to you if you're interested in that, or to the TAC as a whole. I think we sent it to the TAC.
All right, thank you. Moving on to item C, LRTP.
I'm so
oh,
sorry. I'm sorry. Danelle and Lon, I assume you all know that our FTA's call for discretionary projects, bus and bus facility, and lower and no emission vehicles, that's open till mid-April. And Lon, I don't know if you guys know what if you're gonna be applying for funds for that program?
Yes, we are.
Okay, thank you.
And that's due the 13th, I think.
Yes, that's due April 13th. Actually, we are going to put in 2 project applications, one for vehicle replacement with hybrid buses replacing diesel buses. We're looking at maybe 4 buses for this application. And the second project will be to upgrade our existing fare box system. So we would be sending out requests for letters of support. You will get emails from Allison here pretty soon. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So sorry, now moving on to item number C, the LRTP update.
The long range transportation plan update. We have a few different component plans and studies that are either going on now or going to start shortly. As mentioned earlier, Jason O'Brien is leading the regional freight study, which has begun work. We've selected a contractor, and they're working on that effort. Jason O'Brien is actually on the phone if anybody has any questions specific to that study. The transit and specialized human services plans are in RFP stage, and we are kind of waiting on that funding to get those started. We at PPACG did release a request for proposals for the public outreach portion of the long range transportation plan. Those applications are due into us the 3rd of April. And once we select a contractor there, the first kind of priorities there will be to finalize the public engagement strategy for the LRTP. We'll be creating the Regional Transportation Plan Advisory Committee, and the consultant will also be conducting a public survey related to transportation goals, vision, that kind of thing. We are also starting scoping and RFP work on a active transportation plan, which Jason will talk about in just a few minutes. And Will has our consultant on board to work on our traffic demand model. The GIS staff has been working on some of that economic and demographics kind of information in the background. I see Tim has his hand raised, so please.
Excuse me, Tim Roberts with the City of Colorado Springs. I was just wondering if you are able to release who was selected for the LRTP study for plan development.
The public outreach portion?
No, I thought you said you had it under contract for development for the LRTP.
We have the regional freight study contractor under contract,
Okay.
and the model.
And the modeling, that's what I was wondering.
Mhm.
Can you release who the contractor is?
The model is PTV, is the
Okay.
consultant.
Okay. Thank you.
And there's two parts. There's the update of the model itself, which we're doing with MMOF through CDOT, and it's CDOT money. So everyone's clear, we're not taking your money and putting it into the model. CDOT had special money set aside for that, and that's PVT. Then there's another $100,000 to do the economic portion of the model, and that I don't think we've released yet, right? So just to be clear, PVT for the overall model, the economic thing, we've just got approval with everything from CDOT. We'll be putting that out in the street shortly. So does that help, Tim?
Yes, thank you.
And then the other thing that's ongoing for the long-range transportation plan is following the congestion management process. Our consultant Olson is working on scoring the projects from the previous long-range transportation plan that have not yet been funded. So Rachel Jenkins is the point of contact for that effort. She has reached out to all of the local agencies, I believe, and has requested some road condition and asset management data. I believe that she's already received some of that from El Paso County and perhaps others. So they're working on doing that scoring process for us and trying to help us vet that methodology that was created during the congestion management process development. And they're also working on helping us put together some recommendations for scoring projects that aren't mappable, and how do we assess those for some of the elements that are more specific to geography. She will also be reaching out to request a priority project from each local agency, because that is part of our scoring methodology. And then she was planning to provide us at PPACG with an evaluation summary report to kind of give us an overview on how the scoring's going, if there's issues or recommendations that Olson has. And that's due to us around the end of this month.
Are we going to have it on a TAC agenda or something?
We certainly can, yes.
Because again, the primary thing is, again, if we've got a consultant that can take a lot of the process off the plate of you, the jurisdictions, that's the number one thing there, right? So we're good. But the second thing is, we did learn from the last long range plan. We developed a black box. We threw stuff in the black box and we shook the box really hard. And then what came out didn't make sense. So we want to make sure that, again, we do this. So I think there's an opportunity after we get this report. At the end of the day, if the CMP is not getting the desired results, we're not going to blindly take the projects that come out. We'll fix the black box so that it makes sense. And I think that's something that was a constructive criticism of the process last time. And we've heard you guys loud and clear, and hopefully this is going to address that and we're not going to have the same issue again. So hopefully everyone's cool with what's going on, and that they work with Olson on their projects so we can get this thing done. So thank you.
So our goal will be to work through that scoring, make sure that all of those previous projects, existing projects are scored, that the scoring methodology is good with the TAC, and tweak that as necessary. And then we'll move into removing projects that may need to be removed, or doing the call for projects for additional projects in those out years. And we'll also be, collecting some additional information, such as the 5-year banding that's required for our GHD modeling and that kind of thing. But that's kind of down the road at this point. Is there any questions on any of the elements going on for the LRTP or any thoughts from the TAC members today?
So this is Kristen. I'm sorry to interrupt, but could somebody, what's the identified time that the transit and mobility studies would kick off if in a perfect world, do you think? Would that be like this fall?
Are we talking about
The transit and specialized human services plan? I think
Yes.
in an ideal world, they would already be started.
about 3 months ago?
But so this year, we're hoping, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, and if it isn't this year, I think we will go down to CDOT and steal about $100,000 worth of office furniture and hawk it on eBay, because like I said, we've already taken the money off of our ledger, and it's now needs to get over to MMT so that they can start the study. So it's there somewhere. We just need to find it. Jeff has his hand up, Mr.
I
Chair.
might call Kathleen. Kathleen, I'll call you after this meeting if that would be helpful.
I think we're in a lot better shape than we were a while ago. We found some key information, and DTR has been communicated with, and I think we're in pretty good shape now. A lot of good stuff happened 2 days ago, and I think we're going to start seeing some progress.
Okay, thank you.
Would you agree with that assessment?
Kathleen, I'm vigorously shaking my head yes. Thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
So we can cancel the U-Haul. I don't think we're going to need it.
I don't know. We have some really nice office furniture here. Thank you.
I have my CDL. I'll come and get it.
Any other questions?
All right, with that, we'll move on to, With that, we'll move on to item D. Thank you, everyone. This is the active transportation plan, so I'll pass it off to Jason.
Thank you. Good afternoon. So this could be a really quick item if people don't have any comments in real time and they'd rather just think about it and send an email, or happy to have discussion right now in the meeting. So I've just got a few things I'm going to go through very quickly, and then we can see what happens. So this is one of the component plans of the LRTP that Danelle mentioned, the active transportation plan. At this point, we're scoping it out, and we're trying to get it completed over the next year, maybe year plus. So just to be on the same page, active transportation just means human-powered transportation, traditionally walking and biking, but it can also mean things like e-bikes, scooters, and other micro-mobility devices. The last one was completed in 2015, and it's a normal practice among MPOs to have an active transportation plan that's at least roughly in step with the long-range plan. So in that sense, it's a good time to get started. We're looking to hire a consultant. As I said, we're scoping it right now, but before we firm anything up, we thought we'd come to the TAC and just ask about any preferences you may have about the approach or elements that might be included in the active transportation plan. So just some of the questions that we came up with that we're wondering about. How can the active transportation plan fill in gaps in knowledge or information? So maybe that's something that would be useful. Should there be some focus on tools like sample ordinances or best practices? So I've worked at MPOs in the past where there was a lot of interest from maybe our smaller jurisdictions in sample ordinances for certain things. How can it be the most supportive of your own active transportation initiatives, including things like funding pursuits? How might it help coordinate efforts and priorities across the region? An example of that would be something like identifying key regional active transportation corridors, like priority corridors for active transportation. Another question might be, how much attention should we give to micromobility? And what are the deliverables we'd like to see for that? And so again, those could be things like sample ordinances or best practices, and anything else you might think of. So you all don't need to remember all those questions. They're just prompts to get us thinking. So at that point, that's all I was really going to say. So if you'd like to have some discussion now, happy to get your comments. And if not, please give it a thought. And if there's anything you'd like us to include or pay particular attention to, or anybody you'd like us to talk to about it, before we firm up the scope, we'd love to hear from you either now or call or email. And looks like we've already got one hand up.
Yeah, it's Tim Roberts again with City of Colorado Springs. I just wanted to point out, as of Tuesday, we have a freshly adopted Connect COS, which has a active transportation plan update. It goes beyond our Connect or Bike COS bike master plan. So I just want to bring that to your attention in developing your plan, and ready to help however you need.
Thanks. Yeah, and we'll definitely take a look at that. So we're supporting and complementing it, not duplicating anything. So thank you for that. I'll make sure that we look at that as we go forward.
Okay.
Jason, this is Ben Schmidt from City of Woodland Park. Right now, we're currently working on Trails and Open Space Master Plan as well, and maybe there's an opportunity to dovetail and kind of support this two plans together. I can pass that information of where we are currently on to you, just so you can see what corridors we're looking at for improvements as well. But that'd be very helpful.
That would be great. And if it's not yourself, could you forward that along with maybe a main contact person who's working on that?
Certainly. And then also to add to that, the sample ordinances are an excellent tool as well that we would also really value.
Great. Yeah, that would be great to know what types you might be interested in. I know that micromobility is kind of a hot area for that, but yeah, let myself or Danelle know which ones you might be looking at. And no rush, there's plenty of time, but if you have any thoughts about it up front, it'd be great to know.
Thank you very much.
Any other comments? If not, as I said, happy to hear about it over the phone or email at your convenience. Any thoughts or anybody you'd like us to talk to? Still very early in the process. So if we don't hear anything else, we'll talk to the people that we've heard from, and then it will be coming in front of you as a draft plan before too long, so you get a chance to comment and discuss then.
All right, since there aren't any further questions, we'll be moving on to item number 8, member entity announcements.
Okay, I'm
I
not
see
hearing any,
Tim
so I'll
and
just
Gail.
butt in.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, I did raise my hand, but I jump in all the time, so you'll forgive me. Sorry about that to everybody else. Just wanted to give you a quick update that we are looking to start our round 2 of public involvement on the major transportation corridor plan. And we're going to be asking PPACG to send to all the committees, TAC included, basically our sort of short PDF presentation of how you can get involved and asking for your help. So anybody that wants to post that on their website, we would love to have you do that or fill it out. We'd love to have your input as well. Thanks.
Thank you. It looks like Tim and Gail both had their hands raised. So Gail, if you'd like to go ahead.
Thank you. I just wanted to mention something about a conference I was just wrapping up today. It's the Western Bridge Preservation Conference. It is sponsored, really, it's an AASHTO and their transportation research entities. And the reason why I wanted to mention to you, they have tons of local resources that I didn't realize were available to folks. And if you would like more information, I'd be happy to share that with you. The topics range from asset management approaches, deck preservation, best maintenance practices, and things like that, I think we all have bridge issues in our entity. So if you want more information on that, I'm happy to share it. And the best part is these resources are free.
Hey, Gail, this is John. Do you want to go ahead and send that to us and we'll send it out to the full TAC distribution?
Yes, I'll send you the link with there's a specific local agency tab. I'll send you two links, one that goes to those local agency resources and the other just kind of their main homepage, so you can see all the other things that they're doing.
And just out of curiosity, this sounds like it goes beyond the urbanized area. So in addition to sending it to the TAC, should we send it out to the complete COG membership so the folks in Central Front Range TPR get the information as well?
Yes, I would actually recommend it because they probably have the most need for this information or linkage to these resources.
Yeah, I think Andy's got a good distribution list, so we'll send it out twice. Once, Jess will send it out to everybody on the MPO list, and then we'll ask Andy to send it out to the Central Front Range. I think it's managers list. I don't think we have a really great list of DOT directors, but I think he has city, town managers, and county administrators. So we'll ask Andy to do that. So thank you.
Great, thanks.
Thank you, Gail. Tim, we'll move on to.
Yes, thank you. Tim Roberts with City of Colorado Springs. I had just mentioned this. Tuesday, the City of Colorado Springs passed its, I'm not going to call it a major update. It's much a brand new master transportation plan for the City of Colorado Springs. It's comprehensive. I believe it takes care of our existing needs and has a visionary look into the future with enhanced transit and multimodal nature. So I just want to say that our website is updated with the final version. And if anybody wants to see that, or if they have any questions or anything like that, but it's a major accomplishment. It's been 3 years in the making. And I guess thank you to those who also were involved and participated in its development.
Thank you, Tim. That's a huge accomplishment.
Yeah. Is that a really long document? Is there like a cliff notes or maybe some pictures or something, or do we have to read the whole thing?
Well, actually, we that's a good point. We are developing an executive summary, but it's not a long document. I'd say the actual meat of the study is I believe it's less than 90 pages. We've got quarter portraits. I think those are key element. That's Appendix A, and then a project list that will help build our projects for the 2050 Long Range Transportation Plan update.
Thank you. Sorry, go ahead.
Line route, Mountain Metro Transit. A couple updates. We filled our vacant planning supervisor position. Dave Mentor is the successful candidate. His first day would be Monday, March 20th. So you will probably see him around. The long range plan, I think we already covered that. The RFP is open until March 31st at 5 p.m. So we are hoping to move forward and hopefully don't have to pause for the $100,000. So we're moving forward with that study. We have been seeing some very positive improvements in terms of our service restoration. As you know, we had to cut a lot of services, transit routes, frequencies, and coverage during COVID, and we are working with the current contractor. We are 2 more frequency routes short from fully restoring what we had cut. The first one would be the 15-minute service on Route 1, and the second one, we don't know the date yet, but the first one, we will be restoring that Monday as well. So we're very happy with that. Front Range passenger rail study was completed. The study will be presented to the Front Range Passenger Rail District Board on March 24th. The meeting is scheduled between 9 and 11, and it is open to the public. So we don't know exactly what time will be up, but you can call in. I think they have a hybrid option for this month. Lono grant, we already covered that. We are sending the request to CDOT and PPACG for a letter of support. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. So I can, I actually have some small member updates from our Little Mountain community up in Woodland Park. So as of Monday, I took on the role of Director of Public Works. And as part of that, we're going to be hiring a capital project construction manager. So that'll be posting in the next couple days. So if you know of any interested candidates, please feel free to have them look at our website. All right. Are there any other items for future TAC meetings? Agenda item number 9.
Well, we paused to see if anybody has anything they'd like us to bring. But I think, again, basically for the next 2 years, a long-range plan and the plans under that umbrella, the freight plan, the active transportation plan are going to be a lot of our discussion points. I know at some point, we will have a discussion of how this region complies with the what is it? Is it the thing in the don't look at me like that. Complete Streets, yes. So at some point, when we get some more guidance from Aaron and our friends at FHWA as well as CDOT, there is a provision that we need to do some stuff on Complete Streets. We have it budgeted, I think $37,000 set aside for it. So at some point, we'll bring that back to you as well. And hopefully there will also be some transit stuff to bring to you. So a lot of stuff will be focused on the long range plan. And again, the CMP will come back to you as well, right? So unless there's something specifically you want us to address, that's sort of where we're going. And I'm wondering, in the UPWP, do we need to have, because we had that discussion earlier, if we're going to do the streetlight again in 2024, is that something that everyone needs to tell us now and we need to put it in there? Because I think we had to amend the UPWP to put that in. And so we might as well put it in from the beginning. So also think in the next couple of months if you want to do streetlight again in 24, or am I wrong?
That's STP Metro money, so it's not solid planning grant.
Well, I thought
but I think we did include it.
we did, because they took the STP Metro and they converted it to consolidated planning grant.
So-
And so we had to have it in the UPWP, because I do know we put it in the amendment. So that'll be another thing. So think long and hard. If you want to continue that, that's something we need to commit to in the next couple of months, I think. And the new tip.
All right, with that, if nobody has any other items for future TAC meetings, this meeting is adjourned at 2:32.